This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. Joining us today is Andrew Bell, the CEO of Red Rock Resources. Following news from your gold project in Burkina Faso, you've got some assay results back from RC drilling with some pretty looking decent grades, Andrew. But before we get into discussing that, could you just give us some background on the project to begin with?
Yes. Well, we have in our office here as data manager, Ali Barrow, who's from Burkina Faso, grew up in Côte d'Ivoire, and I visited both countries. We tried to do things in both of them in the past. The difficulty is, of course, getting the good core team together to do it. And with the core team, you then get the right licenses, and you have to be quite persistent to get them. And then you have people who've got a long knowledge of the country who can help you explore, because a lot of companies have come and gone, and there's plenty of potential there that is known quite well known. And so we put those elements together with a country manager in Burkina Faso, and then Faso Mineral Resources, and a country manager in Ivory Coast, and then Lac Gold Resources there. And we've applied for 5 licenses in Côte d'Ivoire and are buying another, I think. And in Burkina Faso, we have a list of 10 we want to go for. But in the meantime, we have 6 licenses, I think, actually, Côte d'Ivoire we've applied for. And in the meantime, we've bought a couple of highly prospective ones, which are really some of the nicest looking licenses I've ever seen. And in one of these, we just did our first drill campaign, and we had to do it in a bit of a hurry to meet the compulsory spend of the previous owner in time for renewal. And so, we've got a bit of cover there, so we're not actually seeing the rocks themselves. We're having to judge by the very general structures from the large-scale airborne geophysics that's been done and from the artisanal mining activities. So we put in 4 holes, and 3 of them hit gold. One was pretty much hit nothing, missed the targets. Another got a little bit. Another was pretty decent, and the 4th one was terrific.
Yeah, well, terrific is quite the correct word, isn't it? Because those grades are pretty terrific, aren't they?
Well, when I look at people's results, other companies, and this is a useful exercise, they say, this is great result, great result. First question I always ask myself is, if everything they had was like that, would it make a mine? And often, people say terrific because something's showing good indications and the potential for drilling a long strike or trying to get the same structure higher up or find high-grade zones or something. But in this case, you can actually say 20 meters at 3.2 grams gold, starting at 22 meters down, going to 42 meters down. That is something which, if widely replicated, you would certainly be mining.
Well, yeah, and you do say that in the RNS, don't you, that these results are better than expected, and if replicated in future holes, which I believe there are some assays still outstanding there, you could lead to a declaration of an economic discovery. I mean, this is...
we've drilled the 4 holes on this target, and the other 3 holes are on another target. Another very good target. But we have, 8 or 9 good targets, and these weren't even the best in the license. And so we go back to that. But before we do, we want to do a bit of ground geophysics, understand structure a bit better. But no, the point is valid. If you are talking about 3.19 grams a ton, then assuming it's in quartz, and the specific gravity of quartz about 2.65, it means that you've got some in 1 cubic meter of ore-bearing material. You've got about $450 worth of gold. That's not bad.
Yeah, not bad at all. Yeah. You also mentioned about at the corporate level raising capital for the subsidiary Faso Minerals Limited to help accelerate the progress. Could you elaborate a little bit more on that? That's not a placing, is it, from Red Rock Resources?
No, we don't want to dilute the Red Rock Resources, particularly at this price, because we think that we have, coming from Congo, some money that we're entitled to, good licenses we can get, and future developments which we can make money from. And so it's looking at the subsidiary level. Now, if we got the compensation already from Congo, already sitting in our account, we might be looking at Burkina Faso and say, these results are so good, we probably want to take the next stage of development internally and add more value before we bring in external capital. But I think, we have to consider where we are, not where we'd like to be. Because that's true across other projects too. In Kenya, for example, we've identified an area in our main prospect where the roots seem to go very deep and increasing grade as you go down. That looks like a really significant structure. We haven't done diamond drilling on it. There is a gap right in the middle where there hasn't been previous drilling, where we can connect up the ore bodies and get something. We need to put in two 250-meter diamond holes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a huge expenditure, but we are looking at the company without having yet got that cash in. So again, we start thinking, should we bring in partners for that? And it's quite a legitimate thing to do, because here we are as a company with interests in several parts of the world. And we must always be asking ourselves the question, if we separate out one or two of these assets, would it actually make the package worth more? In other words, is this like a bird with a nest and it's got 2 or 3 eggs, but when the bird counts the eggs, it goes 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, and doesn't add any extra value. It's quite happy with the 2 or 3. We've got a portfolio of projects because you don't know which ones are going to come good. What we see is the opportunity of lockdowns on to set up these subsidiaries, one in Australia, the one in Burkina Faso, the one in Ivory Coast. And it's all really coming good in a very encouraging way. But we have an embarrassment of riches.
Okay, and with regards and specifically to Burkina Faso, then the plan is to look to raise external capital to accelerate progress there, and you ultimately would like to take it towards a listing. Is that ultimately what you plan to do in the next few months?
I mean, we raised in the short term enough money to get to the next milestones, and hope that by that time we've added a lot of value, so to raise money at a much higher price, and that might even be a pre-IPO funding. But we've done the first holes on 2 of the projects. We're now going to do some ground geophysics, which will be on a number of them. And that ground geophysics is actually going to tell us a lot about which way we go. Sure, it's going to lead to some further drilling, but the way we describe that program of drilling, once we've done the geophysics, and what we can say about the prospects there, we don't know yet. And then the other project, Boulan, also really exciting license, hasn't had so much work done on it, but the structures there we really like. We're going to get to work on that too. So we don't want to raise too much money. We're running very, very lean operations there. We spend a couple of hours every day talking to them. We've got a geologist there, who's the guy who's running it, who's worked for almost a year without pay, because he's part of the team and get a benefit. And we've done a limited amount of work, and we're shepherding on 2 licenses through the licensing process. And everyone is tremendously keen. But when I look at the overhead costs, the way we're doing this, we're doing it as cheaply as it can be done. And I love that, and we should carry on doing it, because it's very easy to put on overhead, not easy to take it off. So as long as we can have a lean, mean exploration machine out there, and as long as we can afford it, we want to keep the equity pretty tight.
Okay, well, Andrew Bell, CEO, Red Rock Resources, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programmes at stopboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.